So I'm just going to start the presentation, and let's get into it. If you have been putting, I'm just starting. If you have been putting off your dream of becoming a professional engineer because you don't have a strategy, or you don't know exactly where to start, or most people, they have started and along the way they quit because of difficulties that they may have faced. Then in this presentation, we are just going to talk about the fundamentals of the whole of the process, where you have to start, and then how you have to plan. You have to plan for the entire process from the beginning till you get the license. Okay, there are a lot of things about the fundamentals of engineering, all the way to acquiring your license, that most people do not inform young professionals or even experienced professionals who want to acquire the license. First of all, what is the FE exam? So the FE exam is just a test that covers 17 areas of fundamentals engineering that we have studied in the college. And this exam is your gateway to the professional engineer licensure in the US or equivalent places. And it is true, like Kader mentioned in the chat, you need the FE in order to get to the PE. So in this chart here, you can see you need to take the first process is taking the FE test, and then getting your EIT or engineer in training certification when you have applied to the state or the jurisdiction that you are. And then after that, you along the way you acquire some experience by working under a licensed professional engineer. And then depending on the degree or your level of education, you may qualify for the licensure if you have 4 years of experience working under a professional engineer with only a bachelor's degree. And if you have masters, you would need 3 years of experience. And in some states, if you have 4 years, if you have a PhD, then you only need 2 years of experience working under a professional engineer. And then you can take the PE test. Some people, it is not mandatory to wait for 4 years to take the PE test. You can actually take the FE test and then take the PE test along. That is what I did. I took the FE test in February, and then I took the PE test in June. So you can take the test in sequence, and then accumulate the number of years of experience that you need working under a licensed professional engineer. And then finally you apply to the board. And when you apply to the board and complete your NCES processes, you can now get your PE license. And this opens the doors to all opportunities that you may want to hear more. Okay, so 5 things you need to know before even going deep. You need to know that the FE, as we mentioned, is the first thing that you need in order to be able to get a license. And this FE covers 17 knowledge areas. These 17 knowledge areas, if you combine all the questions that will come in the exam, you have 110 questions. And this is computer based. It used to be paper based, but everything now is transitioned to computer based test. This covers you for 5 hours 20 minutes, but the entire exam you have 6 hours. Some people would like to take breaks when writing exam. You want to use the restroom, or you want to take some water, then you have about 40 minutes to do all those things. So if you take that away, then you have 5 hours 20 minutes just for the exam. This exam is also open in the sense that you would be given the handbook, the FE handbook for reference, and you only have this reference book in the computer. You cannot come to the exam with your own hard copy or printed copy of the reference book. This test also can be taken in multiple locations. You don't have to be in the US to take this test. Even though if you are in the US and you are applying to any of the states, it is more easier to be located in the US. But uh, getting the lances equivalent to the US standard, you can take this in multiple countries at a Pearson View centers. Okay. Now let's look at the 17 knowledge areas. These 17 knowledge areas are very fundamental, and anyone who has gone to college or university and acquired a 4-year degree, you would most certainly cover these topics. So you have number one, you have mathematics, you have probability and statistics, all the way to linear systems, signal processing, electronics, power, electromagnetics, control systems, and then up to software development. And these questions are, these knowledge areas, the questions that you would get are not equally distributed, even though each section is equally important. So the number of questions you get, as I mentioned, I think in this slide here, 17 knowledge areas unequally weighted, but equally important to passing the exam. You need each section to pass the exam. You don't have to score everything, but you need each section to pass it. And if it happens that you don't pass the exam, you get a diagnostic test report, and then the report will tell you where you perform well and where you did not perform. So I will show you an example of a diagnostic test, and then we can discuss that along the way. Okay, so example here, if you look at the knowledge areas, if you take mathematics, mathematics is divided into several other subtopics like algebra and trigonometry, complex numbers, discrete mathematics, analytic geometry, calculus, and then you have circuit analysis. And if you look at the number of questions that will come, each section is different. So mathematics, you have about 11 to 17 questions. And probability and statistics, you expect to get a maximum of 6 questions. Circuit analysis, up to 17 questions. So this vary. That's why it's given in a range. But at the end of the day, if you combine all, you should get 110 questions. So based on this, we know that some of the areas have higher priority, like mathematics, 17 questions. Circuit analysis, if you look at here, circuit analysis also have 17 questions. But as I mentioned, even though the weight is not the same, but if you focus on one area and then underperform in other areas, it will make you fail the exam. Okay, so let's talk about the FE reference handbook. The FE reference handbook is very, very important for the exam. And then even before you take the exam, you need to do practice. And then as you practice, it's very important to use the handbook to practice. So the handbook is about over 450 pages with formulas and constants, tables. It has several sections. You have all the 17 knowledge areas embedded in the reference handbook. You would be provided a digital copy, as I mentioned, but you can also have the hard copy, a printed one from the NCES website. So annotations are not allowed. So if you have you cannot annotate or write in the reference handbook. And most candidates never practice finding things in it. So you don't want to go to the exam and then see the reference handbook as something new to you. You have to practice and be very familiar with how it looks like. I'm not sharing the reference handbook here due to copyright issues from NCES. So once you are registered on NCES and you have your account, you'll be able to have access to the reference handbook. So it's not something you should worry about. But in this presentation, I'm just keeping it out here. More about the reference handbook. So the most important skill about the reference handbook is knowing how to search in the reference handbook with speed. So the exam is an open book in the sense that you have the reference handbook to check formulas or some constants that you need to do calculations. But as we all know, you searching or looking for something in the reference handbook takes part of the time that you need. And if you look at on average, you need like 2 minutes to solve or less than 3 minutes to solve each question. And so finding a formula in 15 seconds versus 90 seconds it can make a lot of difference. You don't want to spend a lot of time checking for something, and so you need to know keywords. So if you have a question, what are the keywords you need to type in the reference handbook search in order to locate the formula or the constant that you need. Okay, you also need to understand the structure. The structure of the handbook is something that I'm going to talk about into detail in our next section. And then also how to navigate through it. You need to know this. Now let's move to the main reasons why most engineers fail this FE exam. And I'll tell you the truth. The first time I took the FE exam, I failed the FE exam. It was very devastating, heartbreaking, but it is one of the things. When you don't prepare, you are definitely not going to make it. You will only pass by luck, and we don't want to bet our life or our profession on luck. We need to work for it. So among common reasons why people fail the test, and this is not theoretical. As I mentioned, I failed in my first attempt, and I have spoken to many other engineers who failed taking this exam multiple times. I know people who have taken this exam more than twice, more than thrice. Even some people have taken it by about 5 times. So it's not an exam you would want to underestimate under any circumstance. You don't want to underestimate this exam, especially if you are out of college or school for more than 5 years, and then you have like 10 years into the industry and you want to take this exam. Then you will have a lot more to revise. You need strategy to be able to nail this exam. There are several reasons, and here I'm just mentioning only 3 of them. Number 1, studying for this exam without a strategy. Treating all 17 topics equally wastes most of the time and produces weakest results. So as we have seen here on this slide, page 6, you have about 17 knowledge areas, and some of the areas are more weighted than others. But the key point here is that somebody may be very good in mathematics, and so you don't want to spend like 5 hours revising mathematics and equally spend 5 hours revising, let's say, linear systems. Even though linear systems might be a bit difficult for you, or you have forgotten most of the fundamentals there as compared to mathematics. So you need to know the strategy, how to allocate your time. Allocating equal time is not going to help. So you need to know first, which ones am I very comfortable with? Are you more comfortable with mathematics, probability and statistics, ethics? Then you need to allocate time based on your weakest and then your strongest areas. Number 2 is also ignoring the reference handbook. The exam is open. It's an open book, but most candidates never practice with it open. So as I mentioned, in this process, once you have made your mind to start, and then you have all the resources to practice, you need to practice by checking the reference handbook along. In that way, you go to the exam, and then you are very familiar how to navigate the reference handbook. And then also number three, no accountability structure. Studying alone with no feedback is one of the top reasons why candidates delay for years. And if you study in, not necessarily in a team, but you have other people that you are also working along with, then you begin to, it's kind of feel like, okay, now I need to pass this exam because I have other people looking up to me to pass this exam. So that having that close loop accountability, or even a mentor to develop a good structure for you, and then can check on you, then that pushes you to go extra more. So uh, these are the three reasons that I will share here. I have a guidebook. That guidebook, I have a lot of reasons that I have stated there, as well as if you go to ShaiLearning.com, the website, you'll be able to find some resources and then more reasons why people do not pass this exam and what are the steps that you need to take. So this is a process that I'm trying to put out more resources that will help engineers to be able to acquire the license. Okay, now I will just move to the simple study framework that you need. First of all, you need a diagnostic. So diagnostic here means that when I started to take this FE, or when the first time I planned to take this FE exam, what I did was to first of all go through questions, try to solve questions first, and then assess your strengths. And then based on that, you'll be able to tell yourself like, okay, this is the baseline. I am weaker in this area than this area. And then that gives you the fundamental, the basis. That also funnels into the priority, which areas you need to prioritize more. You need to rank the topics by exam weight and your weak spots. And then number three, you need to learn the high yield topics with a reference handbook open. Number four, you need to practice. You need to practice not only once, not twice, not thrice. You need to practice multiple times and never underestimate any area. After that, you need to review. If you practice and get wrong, if you practice and then you get questions wrong, which is very, very normal, it only strengthens your preparation for the next practice. So you need to review. If you have a good plan and a structure, it is estimated that the time that you need to be able to write the fundamentals of engineering should cover you ideally 200 to 300 hours in total. And this is, if you break it down, you can also plan for 10 hours or maybe 15 hours, depending on your work schedule, your life, all the life stress that you have, things you have to do. So minimum or maximum 15 hours should be fine for you in every week. And then if you have a very good strategy, you should be able to write this exam within 3 to 4 months. If it's ideal, for ideal candidates, 4 months should be okay. Okay, so that's the end of my quick live section for today. Let me know if you have questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'll read your questions and then we can discuss them. And then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I'll be coming in with more of this. Today is a live section. Today I just tested how things will look like. The software I was trying to use for this live section did not work, so I'll try to troubleshoot and work on that. And then next time, I think we should have a very good live section. So let me know if you have questions in the comment section. And then also, if you want to have a one-on-one chat with me, you can easily go to ShaiLearning.com book a call FE, and then you can schedule a call with me. Usually I have FE calls on Saturdays, and then I have PE calls on Sundays. So you can book a personal call, just one-on-one. We can chat about this, and then I'll know what you need most, and then how we can help you. And then also you can join the the mentorship wait list, putting together mentorship resources that will be released in a short time. Okay, so I'm going to the comment section to read your questions. Let me know if you have a question here, and then I'll read it, and then we can discuss it. Question from Vakit. What is minimum cutoff mark for each section? This is very good question. So with both FE and the PE exams, there is no minimum cutoff point. It is so somebody will say, okay, maybe do I need to score like 80% to get a pass mark? No, you don't know. Nobody knows what they score. This nobody knows whether you scored 80%, 90% after the exam. You only get results 7 days. After 7 days after taking the test, you get your results. It's either pass or fail. Now, if you pass, you don't get to know your results. If you fail, unfortunately, you get to know the diagnostic report, and the diagnostic report will tell you your weakest strengths, the areas that you did well. For all the 17 areas, you will know that, okay, you did well in mathematics as compared to other people taking the test. So taking the test, you are being benchmarked based on how other people are performing. So if the time you wrote the exam, a lot of people are performing well, and then you did not perform well, then you will definitely fail. That's how it looks like. I will show you the diagnostic test report, and then because I failed the first one I took, and so I have a diagnostic report for myself, I can show it to you later on, but not in this section. Is the answer okay? Who else has a question? This is a very good question. So no cutoff point. You only will receive a diagnostic report that tells you areas you did well and areas you did not. Great question. Thank you, Vakit. What else? Ask your questions now. This section is for you. Okay, next question coming from Vakit again. Okay, let me see. Okay, if suppose I get license as PE and I'm staying in India as electrical design engineer, can I stamp the project while being in India? Okay, this is also a good question. So the way the PE license work, in the US here, every state is different. Even if you have a license in let's say New Jersey, I have a license in New Jersey, and then I have a license in Illinois and Pennsylvania. But even though I have a license in Illinois, these 3 states, I am only qualified to stamp drawings in the jurisdiction in which I have the license. You cannot use a state license from New Jersey for a different state. So the same logic applies here. If you have a license that is in India, the license is just benchmarking you that you have a license which is as much as qualified as a US professional engineer. You'll be able to stamp designs and drawings in India, because if you think about it, even in the US, you cannot be a PE in New Jersey and use the New Jersey stamp for a project in Texas. That is why we do committee. Committee means that having multiple licenses in multiple states. I hope that answers your question, Vakit. Good questions from Vakit. Anyone else with questions? But then it means that if you have a professional engineer license based on the US standard, and then maybe you travel to the US or you get to work in the US, you may be able to apply. There are processes you may be able to apply to a different state. Some states are open to allowing people in different countries to acquire US state licenses. And then I have provided that list in my in my guidebook. In the guidebook, you see some states. The US, we have 50 states. Not all the 50 states permit this, but some states allow you to be in different countries. You can be in UK,